Welcome back for another episode of God's Maxim for Life with yours truly, Ori. I am excited to bring you guys the eighth episode of the podcast. Before we go even any further, I would like to just thank everyone that's been watching each and every episode so far. And also would like to thank you guys for your comments, your feedback, those who like videos, comment on the videos, or who are sharing those videos. We definitely appreciate the support from you guys. And above all, we just love that you guys are learning from the podcast. We love that you guys are taking the information in and are able to apply it. That's the whole goal for the podcast, for us to be able to share what insights God placed on our hearts for through the verses that we read, and also how we apply it in our lives and how you apply it in your lives as well. Feel free to share with us whatever things God's been able to do through the podcast in your life. Maybe you've been able to share with someone, or maybe they're able to give you feedback on something you shared with them, or maybe you just were able to apply it in your life and were able to see God work through your life. Whatever it is, just feel free, to share it with us. You can DM us, you can, email it. Whatever means you want to use to be able to communicate with us, we would definitely appreciate that as well. So for those who may be tuning in for the very first time, we just want to thank you guys for tuning in. We thank you guys for just watching. If you have not done so yet, please go ahead and subscribe on YouTube. Also Instagram, follow the page as well. And we're also available in a lot of platform for podcasts as well: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and many more. So without any further ado, we're gonna read the scripture so we can get started with today's episode, the eighth episode of the podcast. So the scripture we are in is Proverbs 3 verse 7 through 12. Proverbs 3 verse 7 through 12. It says, Don't consider yourself wise. Fear the Lord and turn away from evil. Then your body will be healthy and your bones strengthened. Honor the Lord with your wealth and with the first of all your crops. Then your barns will be filled with plenty and your vats will burst with wine. Don't reject the instruction of the Lord, my son. Don't despise his correction. The Lord loves those he corrects, just like a father who treats his son with favor. That's Proverbs 3 verse 7 through 12. Let's go ahead and unpack what we have for today's episode from the scriptures that we just read. So we have before us three exhortations, each of them enforced with a good reason. All right, so the first one we're called to do is we're called to live a humble and dutiful subjection to God. We are called to live a life that is, humble, where you don't consider yourself to know too much. You don't consider yourself to be the wisest person, in the world, but you humble yourself. You allow God to be able to impart knowledge in your life, wisdom in your life, and you use that wisdom to benefit you and those around you. So you basically humble yourself. All right, so don't be wise in your own eyes. There is not a greater enemy to the fear of God in the heart than conceitfulness or conceitedness of our own wisdom. If we feel conceited with our own wisdom, we feel like we know so much. Okay, so the second thing is basically we have to have a dutiful subjection. Fear the Lord and depart from evil. Take heed of anything to offend. Take heed of doing anything to offend him and to forfeit his care. The fear of the Lord, so as to depart from evil, is true wisdom and understanding. Those that have it are truly wise, but self-denyingly so, and not wise in their own eyes. For our encouragement thus to live in the fear of the Lord, it is here promised in verse 8 of chapter 3. Then your body will be healthy and your bones will be strengthened. All right, it will be nourishing, it will be health to your body, it will strengthen you, it will add marrow to your bones. So literally it's saying for those who are fearing the Lord, there are promises that's tied to that. A promise of living a good life, a healthy life, a life where you are strengthened from God. And there is no other strength that we could require. I don't care how much time you go to the gym. I don't care how healthy you are as far as on your own merit. But when God gives you strength, he truly does give you strength. and you'll be able to, see the difference. God was able to give a man strength to, kill lions, kill many people, or fight in many wars, and was victorious, which was Samson. I'm not saying he's going to give us that kind of strength in this instance, but that's, to see how powerful God can literally make someone physically be. So yeah, we should definitely take heed onto those things. We must also make a good use of our states, and that basically is what you have, what God has given your possession. Okay, so the first thing is a precept which makes it dutiful to serve God with our estates. We have to be able to serve God with what we have. Honor the Lord with your substance. We must honor him not only with our bodies and spirits, which are his, but with what we have as well, our possession, for they are also his. Right? We and all our possession must be devoted to his glory. Whatever we have, we must not think that we have it just for ourselves, but we have to be able to have a mindset where we know that we have for ourselves and also for others, or also to be put to God's use, whatever he wants to do with what we have. Okay, so we must honor God, one, with our increase. Where riches increase, we are tempted to honor ourselves. So when people start getting more riches, or start getting more money, or more possession, we get tempted to honor ourselves. We get tempted to, buy the biggest things you can buy, the biggest house, the biggest car. We must not forget that we have to honor God with our possessions as well. We have to set our heart upon the Lord. All right. But the more God gives us, the more we should study to honor him. The more he's blessing us, the more we have to honor God. And that's the key. That's the key to getting more blessing. That's the key for God to pour out more into you, is for you to be able to keep it going, keep moving forward, keep helping others, keep serving God with what you have. With all of our increase, not just some of it, but all of our increase, as God has prospered us in everything, we must also honor him in everything. With the first fruits of all. We have an example with what Abel did in Genesis 4, verse 4. And this basically became a law in Exodus 23:19, and also in Malachi 3:10. God, who is the first and best, must have the first and best of everything. His right is prior to all other, and therefore he must be served first. Point blank, period. God is the Alpha, which means he's the beginning. He was there first. Therefore, we must honor him with, the best that we have, the first fruits that we have, the cream of the crop, not the leftovers, not what we don't want anymore. Also, we also have a promise with this one as well, which makes it our interest to serve God with our possessions. It is the way to make a little, much, and much more. It is the surest and safest method of thriving. So shall your barns be filled with plenty. He did not say your bags, he said your barns. Not your wardrobe replenished, but your presses. So God's not looking at individual things. He's looking to bless the entire thing when he's doing these things for us. And our third thing is we must conduct ourselves right under our afflictions. As we know, we are in a world where everyone's not basically isolated, or it's not impossible for people to be affected by afflictions, although you're a Christian. That doesn't guarantee that. And the Lord said that in his word too. We're in the world, we're going to face trials and tribulations, and also afflictions will come our way. So we're not exempt from that. And because we're not exempt from that, the end of the two verses 11 and 12 kind of touch on those on afflictions and things like that. So we must not despise an affliction, be it ever so light and short, as if it were not worth taking notice of, or as if it were not sent on an errand and therefore required no answer. We must not conclude that we can easily get through them without God. Okay, so your affliction could be short and short-lived. It may not be something that's long and drawn out, but just because it's not long and drawn out, we shouldn't think that, oh, okay, this was nothing. Everything that comes our way a lot of times have a mission, or there's a purpose for it in our life, and we have to take heed and try to process and understand that, okay, why was this sent my way? Why was I faced with this affliction? Why was I dealing with this, and what can I learn from it? And also to not try to get out of it with our own power and our own will, but seek God for wisdom. Pray to God for a way out, for how he wants us to process and deal with it. We must not be weary of an affliction, be it ever so heavy and long, to not faint under it. So, as the apostles was telling us, we're not supposed to be dispirited or dispossessed of our own soul, or driven to despair, or to use any indirect means for our relief and the address of our grievances. All right, we must not conclude that the deliverance will never come, because it does not come as soon as we expect it. So some trials could be short, afflictions could be short, some afflictions could be longer. But when we're facing with the longer ones, we have to still trust God. We have to still look to God. We must not lose hope. We must not lose our faith in God. So what will be our comfort when we are in affliction? One, that it is a divine correction, it is a chastening of the Lord, which, as it is a reason why we should submit to it, so it is a reason why we should be satisfied in it. Okay, for we may not be sure that a God of unspotted purity does us no wrong, and that a God of infinite goodness means us no hurt. It is from God, and therefore must not be despised. So like the verse said, sometimes we need to be, disciplined, as children of God, just like any earthly parent disciplines their kids. It's not because they hate them or because they want to hurt them, but it's because they love them, and they want to see them do well and prosper. So it's the same way with God. He wants us to prosper. He wants us to do well. So this is a reason why also he disciplines us. And sometimes it may come, in a way where we're like facing afflictions or whatnot. But like I said earlier, some of them could be sent with a purpose, for a reason. And that reason could be to discipline us, to get us closer to God, to get us to strengthen our faith. Okay, that it is a fatherly correction. It comes not from his vindictive justice as a judge, but his wise affection as a father. The father corrects the son whom he loves, and because he loves him, he desires he may be wise and also good. Okay, so that's the end of our episode right here. Once again, we thank you guys for tuning in this week on the 8th episode. We definitely appreciate you guys for spending this time with us, where you could have been doing anything else, but you chose to listen in, or you chose to watch this episode. Wherever you're watching from, feel free to share it, feel free to comment, feel free to reach out to us and let us know how this episode may have made an impact on your life. If you have not done so, please subscribe to our channels, please share, and please like our videos. We just want to be able to reach out to as many people as we can through this podcast, because we believe that God has a plan for this podcast. God has a plan for all of us, as he's imparting his wisdom, as we are diving into his word and trying to use it and apply it in our lives each and every day. We thank you guys for tuning in, and as we say every week, stay blessed.